and we'll never forget this day. It started at a market and it was February and it was so cold, 10 o'clock in the morning, and that was kind of the rolling point of us moving the business on.
So welcome to another episode of Motivate Me, and today I have a very special guest, somebody who is actually a client of MotivatePT, so it couldn't be more fitting, but also a mother, runs a business, and so when we talk about those three pillars of wellness, career and motherhood, I thought you, Annabel, were going to be the perfect person to come on and talk to us. And obviously you are the founder, the brains behind Cutter and Squidge, a very famous...
founded with me and my sister.
With your sister, a very famous bakery in the heart of London in Soho, which most Londoners will know, and actually probably people further afield now with your online deliveries. So yeah, I would love to get into all of that with you. Before we even start on Cutter and Squidge though, I'd love to know a little bit more about you before Cutter and Squidge, before this amazing business.
So we just touched on, I studied at LSE, and then actually my family, my sister's family, we are foodies. They ran restaurants, my parents ran restaurants, and we grew up in a restaurant. So basically born in a restaurant, worked in the restaurant since I was 10 years old. Wow. And when I was 15, 16, I said to my dad, I want to be a pastry chef. And he was like, absolutely no. No, overdone. My dad, no daughter of mine is going to do that. So went to study, went to university, and then went into corporate finance, worked at KPMG in corporate finance for quite some years before starting the concept of Cutter and Squidge. So when I was 25, I kind of got that itch. I really didn't want to work for somebody. I wanted to have my destiny in my own hands and, my own lifestyle and what I wanted to do, and not be dictated by, the long hours or being away from my family, which was a big driver for me. And I was really unhappy actually in the corporate space. And I said to my dad, and who's one of my biggest mentors, and my sister, I said, I'm really miserable. He said, just do something about it then. So it was either go find another job or go and start something for myself. So I convinced my sister that we should create a bakery that was all the things that we like to eat and all the ethoses that we had when we're cooking. So all natural, it's fresh, kind of creative. So we started with our signature product, which was a biscuit, and we spent 10 months in development, and it's a product that we literally just made up in our head. So cross between biscuit, cookie and cake, because my sister loves cake and I love cookies, and so we kind of put this mash together, and it was all natural, and it started as a disaster. We were just doing it in our kitchen at home. We lived together at the time, and half of it turned out really badly. And it took us kind of 10 months to get something that looked good. And I was still working at the time. She's still working as a lawyer. I'm still working in corporate finance. So when I'd get home at 9 o'clock at night, I would start product development.
Wow. So you were working on product development when you were still in a job?
Yes. Yeah.
And do you think that helped you with taking that leap? Because a lot of people talk about start the side hustle when you are still in employment, just so you have that safety net.
Yeah, exactly. My dad's super sensible. He was okay, we need to test the market. How are you going to do that? Find a way to test the market before you give up, your very well paid, very, a successful job that people would literally kill for. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I remember this, it was the 23rd of December, I'd finished work, I was on holiday. We had the concept of Cutter and Squidge. We had the labels. We bought 10,000 labels. We were mind blown. 10,000 labels. We were like, oh my god, this is mental.
You were committed at that point.
Yeah,
you had 10,000. That's exactly, 10,000 orders.
10,000 labels and 10,000 boxes, and we were like, wow, this is why did we? I spent that £2,000 of my own money. Wow. I was like, okay. I was like, so who's gonna buy this stuff? So we decided to look at fine food markets. They were really up and coming at, 8, 9 years, a lot more than that, maybe almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, the landscape was so different then.
Exactly. What was on the market in terms of bakery it was mostly cupcakes. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't too exciting. It wasn't kind of what London is today in terms of the food scene. So fine food markets were just up and coming. And when I was like, well, it can't be that hard to get into. was like, it was like
One
the
of
mafia.
most
So competitive.
So competitive.
So competitive.
Standards must have been super high.
I sent out 100 emails, I kid you not, 100 emails. I got one response.
Wow.
I got one response. But that one response was a guy, his name is John Shepherd, and he owns Partridges.
Yes.
And
I knew I recognised the name.
Yeah, and he owns, and he does all the, he did all the fine food markets back then. Duke of York Square Market, etc.
Yes.
And he invited us.
Which is an institution. I mean, if you live in London and you go into Chelsea, that is an institution.
Exactly. People go there religiously on the weekend to eat and to try foods. And actually, what I didn't know then is scouts and buyers from department stores and supermarkets also go to those fine food markets to scout new talent. So we managed to get a space there and in another market. And me and my sister, we remember this day, and we'll never forget this day that we started at a market, and it was February, and it was so cold. It was minus, and it was like a wind tunnel.
So you're talking about an actual store market. You had your little, because I know the Duke of York, they still do it. They do all of the little stalls on the weekends.
A little one. On the website, there was a picture of me and my sister.
Wow.
Like 8 years ago, standing at that market. I mean, hopefully we don't look too different, but
sure you don't.
But I remember it was so cold, and it was like a wind tunnel, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and obviously nobody's coming, and you're like, what have I done? Yeah, what have I done? But obviously 12 o'clock comes along, and then we sell out, and that was kind of the rolling point of us moving the business on.
And so two questions. So were you just selling the one product at this point, the signature product?
Yes.
So you'd really perfected that, I'm guessing.
Well, we thought we'd perfected it, but things move on, and I think we were really naive. One, naive in thinking that people would understand our concept because it was new to the market, and two, that we didn't have to decorate them because we thought they tasted so good because they were all natural, and we managed to get all the flavour profiles that we wanted to have in there that we didn't need to decorate the thing. So we didn't decorate them at the time, and we only sold that product, and we thought that it was, the best.
The best thing ever.
Yeah.
Which it probably tasted when people actually ate it, but we've got to get people to buy it first, right?
Exactly. So that was a huge learning curve, and I think it took us maybe a couple, 6 weeks or less than 6 weeks to kind of like develop the product along. When Selfridges and Harrods decided, they contacted us and wanted us to kind of launch with them.
Amazing. Yeah. So did that all come from you being in the Duke of York Square?
Yes.
So Selfridges and Harrods approached you?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So that one yes out of the 100 no's ended up being the catalyst for all of this.
Exactly.
What happens when, again, big institutions like Harrods and Selfridges reach out? Like, what is that process like? That must have been an absolutely amazing milestone in the journey.
Yeah, we weren't really expecting it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think, again, naivety, to really kind of think that the concept was real in a sense, because if you've worked on something for so long and then you're launching it and then something happens, you're a bit like, okay,
we're not a real business yet. This is not this.
Exactly.
We're just playing.
Exactly, we're just playing at that point.
That's so true. Actually, you think there's a launch moment where it's like, we're live, and it's not. No. There's lots of little steps that happen
100%.
That make you think, oh, we're growing.
Exactly.
Things are happening.
Exactly. So you go in for a meeting, you'll have the marketing, buyers, etc. talking. I mean, a guy that I still notice, Mark, he was the head of restaurants at the time, and he invited us for the meeting, and he said, just a casual meeting. But really it was like a pitch meeting where they actually wanted us to trial the product. And then we were like, okay, so we kind of have to take this seriously. We can't really be producing this product in our home. Yes. I literally turned my sister's 2 meter by 2 meter tiny kitchen into kind of my production area.
Wow.
And then from that, we had to look for a commercial kitchen. And again, at the time, like the space to this day has moved on in terms of like the environment for young food businesses. There are now spaces that are affordable that you can go to
rent and hire, right?
And hire, like Karma Kitchen. There's loads of them.
Yeah.
Before there was like one player in the market.
Wow.
And it was extortionate. So we actually had to.
And logistically, did it even work? That's the other thing, because location-wise,
it was awful because the ovens didn't work for us for our product. So we actually invested quite a bit of money into our first production unit. And that's how we started. And we had, because obviously you have to have food audits especially from Harrods and from Selfridges, so that they audit, how you're producing the product.
Safety standards, all of this stuff is so important.
Yeah.
Are we getting anywhere close to these 10,000 boxes at this point? Because I'm guessing this is a lot of orders now coming through from 3 different places. And are you starting to now think, wow, I need to start taking, you're obviously investing a bit in the kitchen.
Yeah.
What's the point at which you're like, this is a real business and I need to quit my job and this is...
That was it.
That was it.
Yeah. So when we said, look, we're going to invest this money into this kitchen, that means, we need like a training website. We need to be looking for other revenue streams. Where is this can we survive just on wholesale alone and markets, or, where is this going to evolve to? So yes, I decided to take a sabbatical, which KPG were very supportive of, and obviously didn't go back.
Well, that's a great safe option, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a brilliant way to do it, rather than just handing in the notice.
Yeah, and I think, all the partners at the time, they said, look, you're going to give up. You're going on sabbatical, you probably won't come back.
Yeah.
But you are, your job is here if you do want to come back, which is great, and that gave me kind of like support to try it out and see. And
really see your risk appetite. Because people think they are so risky and so daring, but actually once they lose the routine and structure of the week, they actually really struggle, even if they love their business and their idea. A lot of us are entrenched in this idea of...
Especially at that beginning point, right?
Yes.
I did a talk at LSE and I was talking to students who want to start their own business, and the thing when you literally start up, when you have no employees and it's just you're smiling and it's just you are finding, you are minding, and you are grinding. It doesn't matter who you are. And
you're doing the most unglamorous things
100%.
You have no experience in, and people think it's this entrepreneur lifestyle that's now being plastered all over social media, and it couldn't be further from the truth. It's tough.
I had to learn about 3-phase electricity and how to get it into my production unit.
Wow.
And fit it out. And I'd never done that before. And I kind of sought advice from different areas in terms of, suppliers and kitchen people, bakers. So I went down to Cornwall, I want to say Cornwall, or Dorset, one of the two.
Yeah. Seaside town somewhere.
Yeah, seaside town somewhere where our ovens, who still supply, so they supply basically everybody in the UK, the ovens. And I went down there just to have a look at all the equipment, speak to the owner, Steve, and kind of just get more insight. And the one thing he said to me, and he tried the product, he went, this product is absolutely fantastic. Your products are fantastic. Your hardest thing will be? Convince people that they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
And boy, was he not wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're in Harrods at this point, you're in Selfridges at this point. You're still doing the Duke of York Square. I'm guessing that's still...
Yes. Yeah, we're still doing markets during the week. We're still doing, we're doing online.
And it's still just the two of you producing?
It's just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
Wow. What happens after that? Because there's got to have been some rapid steps taken.
Yeah, so I've had to secure my first employee. Yeah. So going from doing it all myself to teaching someone and getting... Actually, I had one employee and then I quickly got another. So I had one that would do the markets and one person that would help produce. And going from an employee to an employer is like... You have to learn quick.
You have to learn very fast.
Very, very quick, because it's not you anymore. You are responsible for these two people. These two people also have to live, and you've got to teach them, and their expectations of what a job is, as opposed to...
And you are giving them their career path now. So
exactly, you're giving them...
And having been in the corporate world myself, you're very much looking at the career path that someone has laid out for you, and now you are the person supplying that. And so,
but you're so entrenched in your business, and you're thinking, "I've got to make this work." That's never at the forefront of your mind. Then when you've got two employees, so that part of that part of Cutter and Squidge was one of the most difficult periods, looking back on it.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to grind to build revenue streams that they're not there.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Harrods, you've got Selfridges, but the volumes are not as you expect them to be, just because you're a new business and it's a new product. So how do you move that on? So from that point, we did a very successful pop-up in Selfridges where we had our own space.
Nice.
And we were one of the biggest selling concessions.
So you got to put a voice behind the product.
Exactly,
which is huge.
and a brand.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think that was our buyer said she basically said before she left Selfridges at the time, she went, you really need your own space. You really need to show what Cutter and Squidge is.
Yeah.
And so, to be honest with you, Em and I at that time, because the wholesale thing wasn't quite working, we didn't really know what direction to take next. We had online, but obviously online back then wasn't what online is today.
Of course.
We were like, okay, well, let's put our last bit of money into a pop-up and just really test that concept, that the brand, what that brand means. Because again, social media wasn't what it was then as what it is now.
It was a totally different world back then. And you guys were really at the forefront of like cool, new, sort of like cake bites, like that market is massive now, but it wasn't back then.
No, it wasn't. There was only a few players, and so we did get a lot of press back then. And when the pop-up launched, and it was 4 Brewer Street, so our flagship store is on 20, and we started on 4 Brewer Street. So just through my sister's contacts, as you know, a property lawyer, she managed to wangle this grotty-looking corner site. And I remember we cleaned the windows. It was a old walk to walk, and we'd clean the windows ourselves, and we literally scraped the grease ourselves off. We painted it ourselves. My dad sanded the floor. We built the countertop. I went and I'd met Origin Coffee in Selfridges, because they started in Selfridges at the same time. So they were doing this little pop-up in Selfridges, and we were doing ours, and we kind of like made friends. And so I said to the owner, I was like, would you lend me a coffee machine? And he gave me like the oldest coffee machine money he could lend me. So he lent that to me, and we launched this pop-up. And I remember the day that we were launching, we weren't ready, but you're never ready.
You're never ready.
You're never, ever ready.
It's chaos behind the scenes, but you've got to start. Yeah.
And people were knocking at the door, can I come in? Can I come in? Can I come in? And I just said to my employee at the time, I just said, sod it.
Yeah. Let them in.
Just let them in. And
let
they
them
came in and they piled in, and I remember there was 14 seats in place, and people were fighting over the seats. The coffee machine broke and flooded, and we sold cake. So
amazing.
And we started branching out with more products. So our cakes, confectionery, coffee, ice cream, and the
idea started to grow.
It started to grow from that point. But the customer base, do you know what solidified it? Is we had people that followed us from Harrods and Selfridges come to our pop-up, and how do you quantify back then? How did you wouldn't have been able to quantify those followers? No. And it really solidified, this is a legitimate brand, and we have good brand awareness, and we can grow this. And we got a lot of press from that store, and we did it for 6 months, and we invested into 20 Brewer Street, which is what we have today, and we started that in 2000. We launched it in 2015, and then from there it snowballed into something bigger. Where by 2019 we had 3 stores.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me, from that point, 1 store to 3 stores. I mean, this is a massive jump, right?
Yeah.
What were the employee numbers like at that stage?
So we were about 35, 40 employees.
So you went from that first employee, and within that sort of 5-year period, you're now at 30 or 40 employees. Okay, what was that like, scaling to that many stores? Scaling is a challenge in itself. Like,
scaling is a challenge.
Get the model, and then you just, how hard can it be? You duplicate it. But
so finding sites is obviously very difficult. Do you want to take on a site, rent, rates, everything to do with physical store, as well as the times had moved on by that point. So, we opened 2015, the dates kind of blur into one. Do you think
I
that?
don't, yes,
I
of
don't
course,
remember actually when the. So
I try not to remember sometimes. I'm like, it's all just happening. Focus on the now.
Yeah, exactly. So we had launched Soho and it was doing well. And we put everything we had.
And this is your flagship, isn't it?
Yes. So everything we had into kind of making that site work. So when you're looking at a retail site that is serving, it doesn't matter, clothes, whatever it is, you've got to maximize square footage. And this site is big. So we basically spent a lot of time and energy focusing on how we could monetize the entire space, but also, how to make that experience, that customer experience right for our customers. So like our core values, making sure our core values are there and our team are trained. And that's quite difficult to achieve in with retail in general, because you've got so many staff, part-time, full-time, and you're trading 7 days a week, you're trading for 12 hours a day.
And you can't be there all the time.
And I can't be there all the time. Right. And then on the other side, you want to grow other revenue streams. So we're obviously launching a website, that growing. I remember we didn't do deliveries to people because people weren't really doing that many deliveries. But I remember this one guy, and he would come from his investment bank on a Friday in an Uber, buy 5 cakes and take them back.
Wow.
Because he loved our cake so much.
And that's your following, that's your customer, that's your fan right there.
Exactly. And so whilst we were building our retail side, we were also kind of building online as well at the same time to offer delivery services, X, Y, Z. So, once we had Soho sorted in terms of what we were offering, we ran very successful afternoon teas there, which kind of put us on the map in terms of
collaboration. And again, afternoon teas were so popular. I remember this. It was like Mother's Day. You do and it's still popular now. But I remember it was such a part of the culture here is to do that. So you guys really, and you did, I guess, a quirky afternoon tea, something a little bit different.
Yeah. So we did this one collaboration with Hello Kitty, which probably was the most powerful collaboration we've done.
Wow.
And funnily, the PR company at the time didn't actually support the partnership because they didn't really understand the value of Sanrio and Hello Kitty. But Sanrio they were courting me and my sister by sending us lots of different cute Hello Kitty things. And I love Hello Kitty. I'm Chinese. Who doesn't love Hello Kitty?
I'm not Chinese and I still love Hello Kitty. So massive global brand.
Exactly. And we just actually didn't understand how big that collaboration would be. And I remember we had kitted out the entire basement in Hello Kitty themed, and the stylist did an entire magazine around Hello Kitty and us. And I remember the day that the press release went out, and I hadn't told my store manager because I didn't compute that it was going to be, I wasn't even thinking, the press release is going out, fine. We'd done a lot of work into the partnership, so co-branding a lot of products, co-branding the store, co-branding everything. And she just rang me, she just texted me and she went, are people meant to know about this Hello Kitty thing? And I was like, well, the press release gone. She's like, the phone is off the hook.
Wow.
The phone is off the hook. And we were inundated for 2 weeks and we had sold out of every single seat within 2 weeks. It was mental. People were coming from Japan, America, all over the place, dressed up to the nines, in Hello Kitty, just to come and see, because it was the first food offering from Sanrio in Europe. Never heard of before. Now they do lots of collaborations, but before that was the first one they'd done.
And this is the power of partnership, right?
100%.
Partnerships are such a powerful way to scale and get the brands just to reach an audience you would never have touched before.
But you see that to this day, now you see that quite often. You've got Tiffany and Nike, you've got
unconventional partnerships, traditional partnerships, but they open you up to a whole new audience base.
And people wanted that. The audience wanted that. So we were definitely delivering what they wanted. With so many famous people come as well, it was ridiculous. With their entourages and princes and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah. So we kind of tapped into that. After that we did a couple more other themed afternoon teas, were also very successful and went viral. And in 2019 we published a book that Ryland Peter Small asked us to write, which was Afternoon Tea at the Cutter and Squidge Bakery, which was a kind of like milestone for me and my sister, that we were kind of the the go-to people for afternoon tea, which is really nice. But that concept isn't necessarily, as we're going back to like how do you scale to 3 stores, that concept doesn't necessarily fit every location. So we were testing, when we got these 3 locations, testing different concepts, like a metro kind of site concept where there is some seating and then takeaway, and then one concept that was purely takeaway.
And these sites are across London.
Yes.
And London, from neighbourhood to neighbourhood, for people that don't know London very well, is very different. There's this sense that like, well, every neighbourhood's the same.
Yeah.
And no, people want different things. Some neighbourhoods are edgy, some neighbourhoods are traditional. And so I guess you're testing all of these things out as well and figuring out who the customers are in each.
Unfortunately, once we launched Victoria, and we had launched Royal Exchange in Bank, which was profitable in 2019 and 2020, with a really successful Valentine's Day, and then boom.
And that's what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
Because for everyone everywhere, obviously there was the impact of the pandemic, but not more so than I would say sectors like hospitality. Talk me through what happened for you in that time, because
that is such a... It's obviously unprecedented, and again, when I'm talking about as an entrepreneur or as a CEO, if you're running a business, you're always going to come up with things that you are not going to expect to happen, good and bad.
Yeah, and you have that list almost in the back of your mind. Like I do have a list of, okay, that could go wrong and that could go wrong.
Yeah.
But nobody predicted the scale of what happens here.
So what we were seeing, so I was in the news, we were obviously hearing about this virus, blah, 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 blah. And you could see a lot of people weren't taking it seriously. And then it was getting a little bit more serious. And what we could see as a trend, and I was looking at this very closely, was footfall. So I was going around the site, going around the sites every single day, having a look at footfall, looking at the numbers, looking at revenue. And we started to see
the decline,
where especially in Soho, where you've got a mix of tourists and locals, and those tourists' side was disappearing.
Yeah.
And so I think it was 2 or 3 days before he announced like official lockdown, sat down with the head of operations and my sister and my dad, who's a shareholder business, and we just sat down and we just said, like, what are we going to do? And we decided to shut early, because we were just seeing such a decline that we couldn't, we looked at the cash.
See what was happening.
We looked at our cash position and said, look, how much money do we have left in order to survive this if we carry on running the way we run? And we said, we shut. So we decided to close all 3 stores at that moment in time, and then kind of see and wait what was going to happen. And whilst that was happening, I was working on concepts that we could deliver products within London, because we didn't have nationwide at the time, so within London, and we eventually kind of rolled those concepts out.
And this is probably the blessing in your business and how early you started, is you'd already started testing the deliveries and you were already had your products, nailed, because you had been operating for so many years prior.
Exactly, and I think maybe that was a saving grace, we had launched a brand new website, I think it was about 3 months beforehand. Wow. So we were poised, and my team, I remember we hadn't had the time we wanted to do all these things, and we had a strategy and this, that and the other, and we had targets, and we weren't hitting them online for various reasons, because having retail stores, they do take up a lot of management time.
Of course.
Because they're physical, and you've got big liability against them as well. So.
And you are self-funded at this stage, aren't you?
Yeah, we're still self-funded.
Still self-funded. Yeah, so you've done this whole journey.
Yeah. So all we've done is basically make profit and reinvest, make profit and reinvest, make profit and reinvest.
And so you and your sister are joint owners of the brand.
Yes.
Which is an amazing freedom, isn't it?
Yes.
To be self-funded. You really are your own boss.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been quite lucky to be able to reinvest those funds back in and just keep growing, and have these kind of, it's almost like, we have these what I call mini growths. So like little mini growth, and then we kind of like steady for a little bit, and then we have this other mini growth, and then we're steady, and then we'll go again, It takes time, and things don't happen. Patience, time. And if you go too quickly, and we did notice this during the pandemic and then afterwards where things were snowballing, you have to take a little step back, and you have to stabilize, because if you go at 100 miles an hour all the time, it's not sustainable.
You're missing key learnings. That's what I've always noticed. When I grow a little bit too fast, I miss the key learnings, and we don't adapt and change things quickly enough.
Exactly.
So what's I'm guessing the biggest learning for you in that pandemic was getting the online offering up and running?
We basically had to change our business model, right? So we went from a bricks and mortar, pure, basically experiential business, to an online business that I had to relearn how to be experiential, how to give the same Cutter and Squidge experience, but online.
Yeah.
And through delivery, and making sure that the product gets there in one piece. And people will still, we're even more of an occasions business now. So 85% of people that purchase online for us purchase as a gift, or the remainder purchase for self-gift, for self occasions, so birthdays or whatever, birthday cake or whatever. But pretty much we're a gifting business. We are a bakery, but we provide gifts, sweet gifts.
Because it looks, and for those people that haven't had the wonderful opportunity to go into Cutter and Squidge, your products are beautiful. They're very beautifully presented, and they are wonderful gift experiences. I could 100% see that.
They're all handmade. They're all natural. We put everything into the quality of the product and the quality and the sustainability of the packaging. We look at the the provenance and kind of an aspect. So the ethos of the business is to try. We don't source anything from the Far East. I actually try and support as many local and UK suppliers and businesses as possible, and small businesses as well. And for example, our little gift tin that's made with solar energy in Bermondsey, and the price is a little bit. I probably from China could get the price in for about a third of the price, but I choose not to.
Because that's part of your values, right?
Yes, that's part of the values, that's part of the brand, that's part of the experience, that when you turn that tin over, it says made with solar energy in Bermondsey. Yeah. And so that's, that's that experience. So,
and that brings me to the importance of the little details, which again, a lot of people skip. Yeah. But actually, these little details mean everything, don't they?
I'm a details person. Yeah, and for better or for worse, sometimes that does get you,
into a bit of trouble or overspending or just overthinking.
Overthinking, a little bit too controlling sometimes. Yeah. That can be definitely a trait of a founder, because obviously you've put your heart and soul into this thing, and you maybe have once made that product, but now you're passing on to someone else, or you were once selling that product and you were once doing that thing. And, sometimes you do have to take a step back a little bit and let your managers kind of take control of the situation and work on it, because nothing is going to be perfect the first time round.
And it's the accepting the 70% rather than the 100% and rolling with it has been one of my biggest shifts.
30.
Exactly.
It will always be working.
It will always be working, yeah. There's never a finished article. You're always working on it. So somewhere along this way, you had a baby as well. Let's fit that in as well.
I did have a baby, yes, Freddie.
You are a new mum, which is amazing.
Yeah, so he's 1.5 now, which I don't know where the time has gone. So I fell pregnant at, in the end of 2020.
Yeah.
And actually, I had COVID at exactly the same time.
Wow, fun experience.
I didn't know what it like. Was it pregnancy or was it COVID?
The symptoms. Interesting.
And I didn't know what it was, and I was feeling really unwell. But it was COVID and pregnancy at the same time.
I don't wish that upon anybody. That is brutal. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, pregnancy was a tough one for me because I didn't have any maternity leave. So there was no maternity. I worked all the way up.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we can bond over this another time.
So I worked all the way up until my due date, not due date, until the date that I was going to be induced. So I had gestational diabetes.
Oh my goodness.
So I couldn't even eat sugar. I couldn't eat,
Which is quite a strong craving for many in pregnancy.
Yeah, it wasn't for me, but I obviously have to taste
everything.
Everything. I have to do taste panels.
Wow.
And so the team would be like, taste this. So I would eat a little bit and then go to the sink and have to like wash my mouth out. Ow. So sad.
All the wasted cake.
I know. And now I was like, oh. And if I allowed myself to eat in a bit, I could just tell straight away. Because I didn't want to take medication. So the doctor said I could control it by by eating the right foods, and I wouldn't have to take medication. So obviously that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. But not taking maternity leave is so. I understand why people take maternity leave.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you just get so tired.
You get tired, and it is just exhaustion was actually my biggest symptom, especially in that last month. And just you can't really move much, can you? So it's pretty hard to just even get around.
I know. Waddling around.
I know. And did you manage to take some leave after the baby arrived?
So I had an emergency C-section, which was obviously not the plan, but I think maybe. So I came up hospital after 3 days. On the 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, I was on my emails. And taking phone calls.
Oh my God, that's fast.
But I had to. So in Chinese we have the 30-day confinement. Yes. So I didn't actually go out for 30 days, but I did do some work. But it was tough, and being a mother is the toughest job
in the world.
It is so much tougher than starting a business or running a business, and it puts things into perspective. 100%.
When now sometimes going to work is my break.
Yeah.
Like people are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I get to have a hot coffee.
Yeah.
I get to finish it in
showered.
silence. Yes.
I showered and I got dressed and I left the house.
It's amazing. Yes. Yeah. There's all the freedoms.
Yeah.
How has that journey been? Because as you know, I've done the journey.
Yeah.
I've got 2 little ones.
Yeah.
I had to carry on running my business. I wanted to carry on running my business, which is
100%.
a bit of a curse as well of your own business, is that you kind of can't stop.
Yeah.
How has it been for you? Because you guys, you haven't slowed down.
No, so we're still growing and we're pushing we've got quite an aggressive growth plan over the next 3-4 years. So no, we're not slowing down. It's the initial first 6 months were quite difficult.
Yeah.
I would have to say they're probably really, really tough to balance the two things out, and not wanting to miss that crucial time, with Freddie. And I felt a little bit punished by the business, quite frankly, because if I took my foot off,
the accelerator,
yeah.
Do you feel like things just? Sometimes I wonder if that's in my own mind, but I'm the same as you. I sometimes feel like, oh my God, everything's gonna slow and things aren't gonna function in the way that they should. Yeah. But I wonder again if that's just our overthinking.
No. I think that's where we want to get to.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, I'm not there yet, and I know I'm not there yet. And this year has been a game changer where last year was a really, really tough year for me in particular, and how to lead the team and have a baby and still be recovering from, the C-section and all of those things.
And C-section takes recovery.
Exactly.
The fact that you were still working, because even having a normal delivery, I found that tough to get back to work for a good month or 2. And so the fact you were back on, C-section is much harder to recover from. I know you train because you train with us.
Yes.
How much did your wellness practices play a role in just helping your recovery? Because for me, it was everything.
Yes.
It was the only reason.
Exactly, 100%. I wanted to get back to being myself, and I know lots of friends and mothers that are entrepreneurs and friends that, it takes them a long time to get back to being themselves, and I didn't want to lose myself, and I didn't want to feel like not myself.
Yes.
So obviously I trained almost all the way up to pregnancy.
You did.
Until the doctor said no more, basically.
I always just know the trainer that you have, Vontor Casey, used to just say to me, like,
yeah,
she's so tough. She's still going. And I was like, that's kind of like how I was, but it
Yeah.
really kept me sane. It wasn't really
Yeah.
about the physical anymore, it's about the mental for me.
Yeah, and then getting back on, I think as soon as I could, I tried to go for a run and then start the training, but really didn't. I mean, we also got married last year, me and my husband. Like, had the ceremony.
Yes.
We were already married, but we had to cancel our wedding because of COVID. So
yeah.
we decided last year would be a great time.
Great.
Yes, and on top of that, also renovate a house. Lovely. Yes,
fun,
do all the things
Growth
together.
plan for the business, little
Yes.
baby,
Yes.
wedding. Okay,
Yeah.
it's all happening.
So that was another motivator to actually get back to myself. So by summer last year, I was definitely feeling
like yourself
yeah.
again. Are there any other non-negotiables as a mum and a business owner that you have to do weekly, or just things that you have to do to keep yourself mentally balanced? Because it's as much a mental game as it is anything else. Like, you have to keep checking in with yourself.
100%. So for Freddie, I'll try and in the morning at least, interact, cuddle with him. I'm not just going to get up. My husband unfortunately has to get up and then leave, and
Yeah.
he doesn't spend any time with Freddie in the morning, and he doesn't see him when he comes home, which is, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So I always try for Freddie to spend, and for myself, have cuddles and stuff like that before I leave to go to work. And then I have to at least do 2 to 3 times of exercise. 2 to 3 times of exercise a week.
Nice.
In order to just give myself, just 1 hour of literally not really thinking about anything other than what I'm doing, being present, what I'm doing at that moment in time. And then, making sure I eat. I was really bad in my early days of starting Cutter and Squidge, really bad at not eating.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't.
Which we can't get away with anymore, because I feel like in your 20s you get away with a lot,
Yeah.
and then in your 30s you don't get away with it, because your body will literally start to give you the signals that it's not going to play ball.
Exactly, 100%.
I agree with that big time. Where are we at today in terms of sites, in terms of online to actual physical sales in store? What's the exciting direction the business has gone in?
So we obviously focus a lot on D2C, so direct to consumer online. That is still a big part of our business, and we will be continuing to grow it. There's still lots of growth opportunities there. I've got some I've just bolstered my senior management team.
Nice.
So have a lovely head of marketing, ex-Bloom and Wild. So huge experience, amazing experience.
That is exactly who you want for online.
Exactly. Got myself a CFO, HR manager. We've got, and then this year my sister joined the business full time.
See, this is where, so she has not been a part of it full time until now.
No, so she was doing 2 jobs.
Wow.
And now she took a sabbatical from her she is head of residential at Seddon Solicitors, which is just down the road by Selfridges. And they have allowed her to take a sabbatical so that she can help grow the business.
And that is somebody you trust implicitly, obviously somebody that knows your brand through and through. And so
exactly.
That's a very exciting point to be at.
Yeah.
I think we could talk and talk and talk. I have so many more questions for you, because we've had such similar journeys and you're on such an exciting one now. But I'm going to leave it with this question, because I'm asking every guest this, and I think it's a really insightful question. What advice would you give your 21-year-old self today that you think would be something, you wish you knew back then?
Oh my God, what a question. That's such a good question. I would say is trust yourself more, because you know best. That is so, and you can have, so as you grow your business, you will get a lot of external parties, consultants, trying to sell stuff to you and pull your business in different directions. And the one thing that you have as the founder or founders is that you have the direction, you have the vision, you have the mission, and you know your brand, you know your customers, and you know what they want. So you've got to trust that.
Yeah.
And I've made loads of mistakes in the last 9 years, and I think the best part is trust yourself and trust your instincts, because those are the things that have gotten you that far.
You already know the answers, right? And we
Yeah.
just suppress them.
Yeah, we suppress them because somebody's told you something. You're like questioning yourself, and you're like, and then and the other thing, nothing is the end of the world, you know, except the pandemic. But that
really was the end of it.
But
But we learned, and you came out stronger.
But nothing lasts forever. That's what you want to say to yourself. That's what I want to mean. Nothing lasts forever. If something bad happens, and it can be in that moment in time, so devastatingly, someone that you thought you could trust leaves, or something happens, or you get surprised by something because you weren't expecting that thing. At that moment in time is going to be a lot of pain, and it might be a bit of pain for a bit of time. You might feel unhappy and a bit, like the world is going to end, but it doesn't last, and you will get over it.
I love that.
Yeah. That would be my one.
It's actually a perfect place to finish on because that's such an uplifting thought. And you're right, there's a seasons for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that was such a good chat. I think that was so insightful about how up and down a business journey is and not linear like everybody thinks and expects. And we're pleased you are still here with Cutter and Squidge, and I'm very excited to watch the growth and see what comes next because it's an exciting space. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.